All right, everybody, welcome into the High Noon Rant. Hi, I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. Typically, that's about 2 hours. 2 hours worth of me performing a stream of consciousness. What's that? That's where I just talk. Just 2 hours of me talking. Hope you can stomach it. It's not just rando thoughts, though. There is some yeah, current events. It's what we do. So for the next 2 hours, it's just going to be me talking about all the things that are happening in the world today. And oh boy, do we got a lot of things happening in this world today. Happy Friday. You having a good day so far? It's noon. So I don't know what, depending on when you woke up. I mean, for me, yeah, pretty good so far. Not too bad. It's around these parts, it's E's birthday. Y'all know E, you remember him from the old nighttime show we used to do. He's got a big baseball game tonight. It's his birthday. He doesn't celebrate birthdays. He's one of them dudes. He's like, yeah, birthday's not. But so I don't know how to broach the subject because some people don't like, you get to a certain age, and not that he's at a certain age, but I'm just saying some people are like, not about that. Anyway, that's what we got going on around here. Heading into the weekend. Looks like it's going to be nice. Okay, there you go. That's the weather. And that's part of what we do here on the show. We've been doing the show every day, Monday through Friday, since 2021. That's 3 years now. And we try to give you everything you need to know about the world, whatever it is that's happening today. Hot topics, current events, headlines. If they're screaming about it on the TV boxes, if it's on the headlines if the kid's on the corner going extra, extra. Okay, that doesn't happen anymore. I know that doesn't happen anymore, but still. That's what it is. So I'm going to try and get you all prepped up. It's talk radio the way I think talk radio ought to be. We don't do politics. This is not a show for political people. Hey, look, there's plenty of stuff. If that's who you are, there's plenty of stuff for you. But this is an attempt to say that, look, there's a whole bunch of other things we can talk about without having it all be Biden's fault or Trump's fault or whatever. So tired of that. I like to say that if you're wondering, is this a show for me? There are 3 questions. The first question, are you still invited to your family's holiday dinners? If you are still invited to your family's holiday dinners, there's never a problem with you or something that you say, then you're invited. Then I think this show is for you. Have you ever gone viral being physically removed from an airplane? If you have gone viral being physically removed from an airplane, then this show is not for you. However, if that's never happened to you, then welcome. Ever gotten a fist fight in a Target? If you've been in a fist fight in a Target store, this show is not for you. But if you answer no to that, then welcome aboard. That's who this show is for, the normal people. 70% of us, I believe, with all my heart. I believe there's 70% of us that are normal. And then there's a loud and dumb 15 on the right and a loud and dumb 15 on the left. And the rest of us are just trying to, navigate all of these hurdles. Hi, Peter. Peter's in the chat room. Let's say hi to some of our friends. We got Al in the chat room. We got Mama B in the chat room. By the way, it does need to be mentioned. This show runs on your tips and your gratuities. That's how we've done it for 3 years. No sponsors, no nothing. You folks. You like what you hear, you appreciate it, you drop a little something, you move on to the next day. Every day we do award an executive producer of the show, and that person is the person who tipped the best on the previous day's show. So that means today's executive producer is, once again, Mama B. Mama B. Thank you. My friend's mom, I've known her my whole life. That's like, that's like nice. I love that family. Thank you so much, ma'am. Mama B is the executive producer of today's show. If you would like to be the executive producer of Monday's show, all you need to do is drop a little something in the Cash App or in the Venmo. That's right. It's PayPal. That's a problem. There's money in my PayPal. I just can't get at it. I got to figure out how to get at it. It's complicated. I know. You're like, what? Why is he having problems? Because I live life off the grid. That's why. Venmo or Cash App are the preferred methods, but whatever. Any support is appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. When you see me posting something about this daily show, forward it. Why not? Let your friends who don't know who the hell I am or what this is, let them know. That's how it works. All right, what else do I have? Do I have anything here in the early goings of the show that I need to mention? Let me keep saying hi to the chat room. Sorry, I stopped at Mama B. I like to say hi to all my early folks who are in here. Let's see. We got James. James is here. We got Al. I think we said hi to Al. We said hi to Peter. We got Barney, of course. Barney is in here. Let's see. Are we missing anybody? Well, whatever. I think everybody's climbing on in. Come on, make room. As I like to say, grab your beanbag chairs, your yoga mats, form your soul circle of life, join hands, and let's move forward uninterrupted into enlightenment and whatever happens in the rest of this day. All right, how does this show play itself out? It is current events driven. It is stream of consciousness driven. But it does have some guardrails. And in order to stay on point, I have four quarters that I've created. I say that it's four quarters. It's for me, because when you just start ranting, you need to know where you're going, and there's got to be some order. Otherwise, it's just madness. So, four quarters. First quarter, we do a thing called antecedently on this day. Antecedently on this day is just a fancy way of saying this day in history. That's right. I cherry pick some events from throughout time, things that have occurred on this very day. We try and look for an edge. We try and look for patterns. We look for rhythms, things that happened in the past that very well may happen again today. It's a better's world. And as I say, we're looking for that edge. Quarter two is birthdays. You know what that is? Famous people born on this day. It's their birthday. Are they cool? That's pretty much it. And we move on. Quarter three is deads, people who died on this day. These are the people that we take a look at their life's resume and decide whether or not they went to heaven or hell. Then quarter four, the fourth quarter. This is the biggest part of the show. This is where we get into all of the current events and hot, late breaking news and all of that stuff. There's a bunch of it today. Today's going to be a fun show. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Jameson's here, my boy. Let's see. James wants to know if a fight at Burger King counts. Nah, I've gotten into fights with people. There's assholes everywhere. But specifically, it's like Target or a Walmart. Like if you've been videotaped starting a fight at a Target or a Walmart because you didn't like the rainbow t-shirt, right, you should be able to control yourself a little bit more than that. Burger King, I could see, let me tell you something about Burger King, James. I've been enraged at a Burger King. You know what Burger King does? You know why I don't eat Burger King? This is really a big mistake on their part because it's such a minor thing. Burger King, for some reason, charges an exorbitant amount for cheese. They'll be like, get a 99-cent Whopper. But I'm like, okay, I'll get a 99-cent Whopper. And then they'll be like, you want cheese with that? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's a $2.75 Whopper. Wait, what? Got to the point. I love Whoppers. Got to the point. There was a Burger King close to where I used to work. And I used to keep, this is who I am. I used to keep Kraft singles in my glove box on the off chance that it was the winter and it was the Midwest, so it was cold. So I used to keep Kraft singles in my glove box. And then if I wanted a Burger King, I would just get their 99-cent Whopper and I put my own damn cheese on it without suffering the upcharge. So I've been enraged at Burger King. I understand, James. You are completely welcome to join the show. All right, let's get started. Let's get today's show started. It is the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 17th day of May, year of our Lord, 2024. May 17th is the 138th day of the year. There's 228 more of these remaining until the end of the year. Yes, Peter. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF. Although, I don't really like Fridays because Saturdays I don't get to do a show. I mean, and if I don't get to do a show, then I don't get a chance to get a tip, and then it means it's a day without money, which means it's a day without spending money. This economy, something's got to pop. Something's got to get better for us. Something's got to get better for us collectively, but me specifically, if we can do that. So they had fancy coffee. Guys, I know you went through it with me when I got off caffeine. And I ran out of coffee. I ran out of the decaffeinated coffee. And I went to the Kroger to buy new coffee. and, uh, and they had some fancy, like, Brazilian imported coffee that was on sale, and it was, like, a really good deal. It was, like, a third of the price of what it normally was. So I bought a can of it because it was, like, the same price. It was essentially more and the same price of the Kroger brand bag of decaf that I usually get. So I tried it, and this is like some fancy, like, Brazilian coffee, and it's fully caffeinated. So, yeah, for the last 2 days, I've been drinking caffeinated coffee, and I can't stop drinking it. It's so good. It's like I don't know. First of all, saying coffee is good is a weird thing because I think if we're all being honest, if we all took some sodium pentothal and were forced to answer with a question, "Does coffee taste good?" We'd all go, "No, actually, it tastes terrible. It's an acquired taste." You have to train your taste buds to like it, and then you become dependent on it. Like me, I drink coffee, the taste is awful. I don't use sugar, I don't use milk, I don't candy it off. I know that coffee in the morning is supposed to be like a kick to the nuts, and I drink it black and I drink it hot. And lately, for the last few months, I've been drinking it decaffeinated, but not now. I don't know what this stuff is. This is like some weird brand of coffee that I've always seen at the store, but it's always been too expensive, so I would never think of getting it. You know what else is funny? Chock full of nuts? It's a real coffee. That's a I know it's a real coffee. Who has anyone ever drank chock full of nuts coffee? Like, I see it. We see it at the store, but mostly it's like one of those it's a World War II coffee, right? Like World War II movies. You always see like an advertisement for chock full of nuts, in the background. And then with, remember Garbage Pail Kids in the '70s, if you were Gen X? Garbage Pail Kids were like parody trading cards of commercial advertisements. Well, they always had like chock full of nuts and bolts. I wasn't sure that it was a real thing. Turns out it is. Still never had it though. Leslie's got to have sugar and cream. You don't have testicles. That's why. If you were a man with testicles, you understand that waking up in the morning is a kick to the nuts. What goes better with a kick to the nuts than something that tastes absolutely terrible and makes you want to vomit? That's coffee. That's the appeal. I have had trick coffee though. Trick coffee. I've had Starbucks trick coffee. I've had McDonald's trick coffee. That's just a cup of like caramel with some coffee in it. Coffee has a flavoring to like heavy amounts of caramel and sweets is good because the bitter offsets the sweet and it's a nice mix. But I have had trick coffee, but I don't wake up in the morning and get like, two sugars. I don't, nope, kick to the nuts. James Smeltzer. Sorry, James. James says my mom drank chicory. Is that another one of those old timey coffees? I think I was at Hills Brothers' house for some reason. I think that was the coffee I grew up with. Now I drink just regular Kroger coffee. It's good. It's fine. Donut chip blend is pretty good. That's one I like. All right, let's get started here. Let's start with quarter one. We call that antecedently on this day. These are all the events that have helped shape our understanding of what this day has represented in the past. Let's get started. Antecedently on this day. Year 1673. Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette begin exploring the Mississippi River. Are these guys famous? I don't know if these guys are famous. Are Joliet and Marquette famous? Or are they like a local band that I grew up with and the local radio station played it? So I just assumed every station in the country was playing it, but then I move and then I'm like, hey, you guys ever heard of the Shoes? And people are like, the Shoes. And then I learned that was just a regional hit. Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette. Are they just regional hit explorers in the Midwest? Do we only like in the Chicago area know who they are because, Marquette and Joliet, city of Joliet and I don't know. Lewis and Clark, they went west. They found isn't that where Lewis and Clark, we talked about them. I guess their expedition started on this day. Yesterday, I should say. Yesterday, like hundreds of years ago. They went west. But Joliet and Marquette, they just went up and down. They went up and down the Mississippi River. They have an Indian? Did they have an Indian? Did they kidnap a hot Indian girl? Because that seems to be something that all these explorers did that we just conveniently romanticized. They were in love. Yeah, sure they were. Sure, the 14-year-old Indian princess and the 60-year-old explorer who spoke French. They didn't speak the same. They were in love. Antecedently on this day in 1875, Aristides wins the first Kentucky Derby with the jockey Oliver Lewis. Won in 2 minutes and 37 seconds. I don't know if that's fast or not. 2 minutes, 37:75. No idea. But the first Kentucky Derby was held on this day in 1875. This weekend we've got round 2, right? Isn't it round 2? Of the Triple Crown. Mystic Dan, who won the Kentucky Derby, he's going to be running. The other day we had a very fun horse racing moment. E, the birthday boy who I was telling you about earlier, he owns some horses. And we were at a kids' football game. It was me, my son. It was E, some other people from E's extended family. And we were watching E's son play football. But at the very same time, E had a horse racing somewhere. Like, I don't know, some fancy track somewhere. And he pulled it up on his phone. And we're watching this. He's like, hey, you guys want to watch my horse run? And we're like, yeah, let's all watch. So we all gathered around, right? We're watching on his phone. And it's live. It's streaming live, this horse race, while we're at this kids game. And the race starts. And by the way, it was probably a bad sign from the beginning because the horse was the last to go in and he was fighting, and we're sitting here with the owner of the horse and he's like, whoa, this is, I don't know what this means. You shouldn't be fighting. You shouldn't be fighting that much. And we're all like, oh man. We're like, what's that mean? What's that position mean? He's like, oh, it's the worst position on the track. It's not a good position for him to be in. So he's in like the far gate. So, and then he's explaining to us, it means he's essentially got to run farther than every other horse. So we're like, okay. So the race starts. Me and my son are over, Uncle E's shoulder, and we're watching it on the little TV, and the horse starts out as in last place. And the other horses, they're pulling away, and he's in last place. And at this point, and my son and I, my 15-year-old son, we were talking about how, all right, on the way home, we're like, in the beginning, I was like, how are we going to handle this if the horse comes in last? How are we going to be encouraging? Because, the owner of the horse is right here. And it's not looking good. So the horse is now half over, and the horse is still in last place. And we're like, okay. And it's quiet, right? And he's the owner, and he's like, all right, he's going to make his kick here. We're like, okay, whatever. This horse is getting smoked. Long story short, the horse in the next minute of racing came back from dead last to win the race. It was insane. And we're at a kids game, and there's like 5 of us surrounding this phone watching this live stream, and all the other people in the stands are like, what's going on there? It was the craziest thing. It was very exciting. So my son, I think, is now a horse racing junkie. That was the first race that he ever watched, and it was his Uncle E's horse, and he watched it go from last to win, and it didn't even win by a nose. It won by like a full length. It just had to kick. Right after he said, he goes, well, here's where the kick's going to come. He kicks right here. And that horse kicked and shot like a cannon. There you go. Is my horse racing experience for this year. Antecedently on this day in 1954, what's that? The horse is named Rock and Rolla Hole. I don't know. Man, we'll figure it out. But anyway, good young horse, developing baby, could be a Derby contender next year. Let's hope. On this day, antecedently in 1954, the United States Supreme Court hands down a unanimous decision in the Brown versus the Board of Education in Topeka, Kansas. Of Topeka, Kansas, I should say. The Supreme Court is not in Topeka, Kansas. This outlawed racial segregation in public schools. This allowed for schools to be both black and white. Boy, oh boy, is this a major decision. We've been hearing a lot about this as schools and places and around the country will be celebrating the anniversary of the Brown versus the Board of Education. 70 years, 1954 is when the decision was. I know President Biden is going to be speaking at some historically black universities. That's the way to say it, right? The historically black universities. He'll be speaking at one, giving the commencement address earlier today. Biden came out and addressed Black Americans, which we'll talk about in the trending topics, but very big anniversary today. Brown versus the Board of Education on this day in 1954. On this day antecedently, in 1974, police in Los Angeles raid the Symbionese Liberation Army headquarters in Los Angeles, killing 6 members. The SLA, the Symbionese Liberation Army, why did they, back in the 70s, there were a whole bunch of these like radical leftist hippie gun-toting We want to be terrorists to make our daddies mad. And they all had banker dads and stuff. Symbionese Liberation Army was one of these. Symbionese Liberation Army was like 4 dudes and like 20 chicks who were mad at their dads. That was the SLA. Now, why were they famous? They were famous because they were run by the head of the SLA was a guy by the name of Sin Q. Sin Q was this big black guy. And the other dudes that were like majors, lieutenants, and it was like a hierarchy. It was an army. They were all white dudes. But then underneath them, like all the soldiers were chicks. They were women. Now, Sin Q and the SLA, they got on the FBI's radar, not because they were particularly effective at blowing up banks or whatever it was that they were doing, but they're the ones who kidnapped Patty Hearst. So this whole situation that went down on this day in 1974 was because they believed Patty Hearst was in this house in Los Angeles, and the police went hard. She wasn't. She was on a farm in Ohio, but they thought she was inside. The police went in hard. They slaughtered everybody, and that was on this day, 1974. On this day in 1977, Nolan Bushnell opened the very first Chuck E. Cheese Pizza Time Theater in San Jose, California. Chuck E. Cheese, born on this day. We didn't have, as a little kid, we didn't have Chuck E. Cheese. We had Showbiz Pizza. Showbiz Pizza was, I guess, the Midwestern version. Same thing as Chuck E. Cheese, so much so that they merged. And now everything's a Chuck E. Cheese, but pour one out for Showbiz Pizza. That's what we had, Showbiz. Antecedently on this day in 1980, the General Assembly of the World Health Organization eliminates homosexuality from its list of psychiatric diseases. Hey! It used to be, you're not gay, you're crazy. Yeah, until 1990, homosexuality was viewed as a psychiatric disease. So there's that. Antecedently on this day in 1995, Sean Nelson. Oh, this guy. Oh, here, we got to pull this up because we got to watch this. You know what? That's what we'll do. Instead of me reading, instead of me just telling you about this, we can watch Connie Chung. Connie Chung gave us this news as it was happening live on TV. I remember this. And by the way, this isn't the only time that this has happened. A very similar thing happened with a, hold on. It just wasn't a, well, how do I do it without burying the lead here? Here it is. Okay, so yeah, you know what? Yeah, we're just gonna let Connie Chung. All right, sorry. All right, here it was on this day that this happened in San Diego. Check this out.
And San Diego looked like a war zone. We'll show you the incredible rampage by a hijacked tank.
Yeah.
It was a frightening scene. A man who reportedly had emotional and financial problems got a hold of an army tank last evening and took it on a wild ride through the streets of San Diego, crushing everything in his path. Correspondent Reed Galen has the story and the incredible pictures.
58 tons of war machine on a rampage in San Diego. An apparently depressed, out-of-work plumber locked inside. 34-year-old Sean Nelson had been a tank crewman in the Army, but police had no idea who was at the controls until it was over.
He's been talking to his neighbors and friends about suicide and also going through some bad times, no money.
Nelson stole the M60 tank from a National Guard armory. The gate was open. He broke into 3 locked tanks, unable to start the first 2. He wasn't noticed till he rumbled away in the 3rd. There was no ammunition in the tank, but Nelson left a trail of crushed cars.
You know, let me just say, it's very cool. And we can all relate to the guy who stole the tank and went on a rampage and just started crushing things. But there was a family that had a nice little Winnebago trailer. Did you see that? Nice little Winnebago RV home parked in front of their house. And this dude took that tank and just sliced it like a knife through butter. It was on this day, 1995. The great Sean Nelson stole the tank. Now, again, not the first time, not a truly unique thing that he did there, because there was another guy, I want to say it was in Denver, and I think there was a documentary made about it. But he took a bulldozer and he built this like crushing monster machine. And then he took that thing out of his house and went on a rampage. I don't know if that was before the guy who took the tank. The guy who took the tank, just lazy and had a specific skill set. He could drive a tank. I think that would be something you would have to know. So he just went and stole the tank. He could drive a tank. This other dude like built a tank, what was it called? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's not get distracted by it. On this day, Sean Nelson lost his shit and stole the tank and drove it through San Diego. Let's see here. Let's do birthdays. They say it's their birthday. We have no way of knowing for sure. Born on this day in 1931, Marshall Applewhite. Remember that name? Does that name mean anything to you? Marshall Applewhite? Going on here? Oh, never mind. I thought there was something going on. There is. We'll get to it. Marshall Applewhite. He was the guy. He was Doe. Remember from the San Diego cult that all wore Nike shoes and sweatpants, and they believed that their spaceship was trailing the Hale Bob Cop. You remember these kooks? Marshall Applewhite. He was the creepy leader of that group. Born on this day in 1931. Born on this day in 1936, Dennis Hopper. Love Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper was a weird guy. You can only see one Dennis Hopper movie. Might I suggest Blue Velvet? David Lynch's stirring portrayal of small-town debauchery and crime. Blue Velvet, freaky movie. Dennis Hopper plays Frank Booth. Oh, the greatest role Dennis Hopper ever played, Frank Booth. Blue Velvet. Moving on. Born on this day in 1955, Bill Paxton. Oh, another guy. Bill Paxton. Chet. He was Chet from Weird Science. Remember Chet? Chet was the older brother with the flat top. He was awesome. He's also in Twister, right? He's dead. Unfortunately, he died. Died way too young. Bill Paxton. Love that guy. Born on this day in 1955. Born on this day in 1956, Sugar Ray Leonard. He alive? He's alive. He's still alive. Sugar Ray Leonard went poof. For my generation, Gen X in the 1980s, Sugar Ray Leonard was up there with Evel Knievel, Elvis Presley, and Muhammad Ali. Sugar Ray Leonard was everywhere. He was in commercials. He was Mike before Mike. He was Sugar Ray. He was all, and then now nowhere. I don't know. I ain't seen Sugar Ray Leonard in like 40 years. No idea what happened to him. Happy birthday, Sugar Ray. Born on this day in 1956. Born on this day also in 1956. Here's another sad one. We're going to be reminded about how he went way too soon. Bob Saget. Happy birthday, Bob. Yeah, he died. What more can be said about Bob Saget that wasn't said in the 72 hours after his passing? My God, did people love Bob Saget. Born on this day in 1956. Born on this day in 1962, Craig Ferguson. Love Craig Ferguson. Craig Ferguson, Scottish-American comedian. Craig Ferguson is a genius. Craig Ferguson is so good at doing a version of a television late night talk show. He came in with fresh ideas. Here's what Craig Ferguson did. Craig Ferguson did a show for like, I don't know, a decade plus, right? And for like 8 of those years, he was doing some of the most interesting late night talk content that had ever been done on TV before. He was absolutely crushing it, and nobody paid attention. And then, like, for the final 2 years, everybody was like, you know who's an absolute genius of the medium? You love Craig Ferguson. He is so good. And right around the time people started paying attention to him, he said, I'm out. I don't know where you people were for the first 8 years, but we did some really great stuff. I suggest you check out our back library. Craig Ferguson, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1962. He's awesome. Born on this day in 1982, here's another guy that's awesome, unless you hate the San Antonio Spurs, Tony Parker. The Frenchman, Tony Parker. Born on this day in 1985, another sportsman of a different ilk. How about Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, American football player? Is Matt Ryan gonna be in a booth doing play-by-play in color, or was Matt Ryan already in a booth and he was really boring? Here's what I think. I think Matt Ryan's boring. I have nothing to base that on. I just look at him and I think that dude's boring. And I either know that he's boring because he flamed out as a commentator, or he's about to be a commentator, and I assume he's going to flame out because I think he's boring. I don't know. Mama B agrees about Craig Ferguson. He's brilliant. Barney lets us know that the Killdozer, that was the guy who actually put the work in. He built his death machine. Barney lets us know Killdozer happened in 2004. Thank you, Barney. Appreciate you. Let's see. Also, having a birthday today, Nikki Reed. Nikki Reed, born on this day in 1988. I don't know who Nikki Reed is. Nikki Reed's an actress. She's like in her 30s now or something. Yeah, she's a grown-ass woman. She's fine. But I first became aware of Nikki Reed in a very uncomfortable way. Nikki Reed was the star of a movie that came out about 20 years ago or so called 13. 13 was one of the most unnerving films that I've ever seen. And if I'm being honest, I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't get through the whole thing. I was just like, I can't watch this. And it was about what 13-year-old girls are like and and this very specific group of 13-year-old girls, right? But still, holy cow, man. They were getting into stuff that me, as like a popular, successful shock jock DJ in a major market, wasn't getting into. 13 depicted some of the most debauched and sexually frightening things. 13-year-olds. I always tell my friends with daughters, how old's your kid? Yeah, you sit down and watch 13 with them? No, don't do that. Don't do that. When my son was 13, I tried to sneak it on. I wanted to see. My son was 13. Well, he's not 13. He's older now. It's a couple of years ago, but I had it on. And he's like sitting there. He's all in his like YouTube headphones and all that. And he's like, "What are you watching?" Nothing. I'm like, nothing. I wanted to have a conversation about what I was seeing. And so finally that happened. And he's like, I'm like, so these kids are your age. Like, I said to him, these kids are your age. He's like, yeah. And honestly, he, by comparison, seems so innocent compared to these kids depicted in the film 13 on this Nikki Reed's birthday. But then, I was like, so is this what it's like, as a parent? And he's like, Dad, first of all, these people are like in their 40s now. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then he said to me, he goes, these are millennials. They were animals. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess this was a different generation. There's a lot of disdain from Gen Z towards millennials. That's coming hard. All right, moving on. Nikki Reed. Happy birthday, Nikki Reed. Let's move on to the next quarter 3. We call these the deads. These are people who've died on this day. We take a look at what they've accomplished in their life, and we decide, did they go to heaven or did they go to hell? Let's talk. Here we go. First off, dead on this day in 1992, a true icon of American television, early television, also a true icon of American music. Yeah, certain kind of music. Certainly a true icon and innovator of American music on television. Dead on this day in 1992, Lawrence Welk. What am I going to do with this guy? He was like on TV forever, right? He was always on TV. Like my whole life growing up, you had TV, he's hanging out with grandma in the kitchen. Norman Welk is on a black and white TV. Norman Welk, did I call him Norman? Lawrence Welk. I don't know what to do with him. He was never cool. It wasn't anything my generation was like, that dude's cool. He was just, but I guess an innovator. He seemed okay. Midwestern guy, right? Didn't he like build his empire out of Fargo? Let's just go ahead and put him in heaven. I got nothing bad to say about Lawrence Welk. My grandma seemed to like him. Dead on this day in 1992, Lawrence Welk. Dead on this day in 2004, Tony Randall, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Randall. Okay, so first of all, I loved The Odd Couple when I was little. Oscar Madison, Felix Unger. I loved The Odd Couple. And it's pretty clear. That was a pretty, and I'm talking about the situation comedy. I'm not talking about the movie, although the movie's great too. But the situation comedy, when people say The Odd Couple, I think Jack Klugman and Tony Randall. That's my Odd Couple. That show's pretty damn insurgent. I mean, let's be honest about what that show was. That show was about two best friends, and one of them was gay. Tony Randall was gay. Tony Randall, Felix Unger was gay. They didn't say it. Two dudes, they're married. They go through divorces. One guy is going through a divorce. He's Oscar Madison because he's a slob and he's a guy and he hangs out with the boys and he's a sports writer and all of that and whatever. He didn't really want to be married anyway, but hey, 1960s single man bachelor divorce storyline. The other one, the other storyline, that why they got to move in together is because all of a sudden Felix Unger and his loveless, sexless pairing, he finally gets kicked out by his wife, who, if you remember, in The Odd Couple was hot. Felix Unger's wife was hot. And then he's got to move in with his lifelong friend, Oscar Madison, who is every male heterosexual stereotype going. And of course, what is Felix Unger? He is every... I don't even know we had a name for it in the 1960s, but he is every gay man. He's a gay dude. That's a story of two gay dudes. Oscar Madison was cool with it. I don't know. Well, actually, we don't know if you know. He was cool with it the way you would be cool with it if it was your lifelong friend, because your lifelong friend would never just declare that they're gay. So you're just cool with him being that way. That's just how he is. Tony Randall himself, though, who died on this day in 2004, he was gay too, right? He was gay. Remember when Tony Randall had a baby at 70 years old? Yeah, he waited till the end of his life, and he was like, you know what? I've never really wanted a baby because I'm gay. And he pumped out a couple of kids, and then he died a couple of years later. Whatever. He had money. Those kids are fine. And by the way, the woman he married and that he had kids with was 25. He was like 70. She was 25. Come on, that's an arrangement. She's 25 years old. He's like, I'm going to be dead soon. I'm going to leave you all my money. I've got some money. I'm Tony Randall, for crying out loud. I just want a couple of kids. I want to play with a couple of kids before I die. I'll set you up. And that was the deal. Now I know what you're saying. Tony Randall, Pugs, do you know that Tony Randall was married for 50 years to his high school sweetheart? Yeah, I do. Tony Randall got married in like 1938 to his high school sweetheart. And they stayed married until she died in like the 1990s. They had no kids. Come on. They had no kids. They weren't having sex. Tony Randall wanted to be an actor. He couldn't be a gay actor back then, so he married his high school sweetheart. They had an arrangement. Stop it. Tony Randall was a gay man. Tony Randall had two kids. He had two, not just the one. He had one at like 70 and the other at like 74. Tony Randall's going to heaven, though, because I always thought Felix Unger was funny. Moving on. Tony Randall, putting him in heaven. Dead on this day in 2012, let's talk about Donna Summer. Donna Summer died on this day in 2012. American singer, songwriter, Donna Summer, the queen of disco. Man, oh man, there was about a 5-year stretch, maybe more, I don't know. It was about a 5-year stretch where Donna Summer was the biggest. She's Taylor Swift. Donna Summer was Taylor Swift for 5 years. And if you don't believe me, well, I guess you just weren't there. Because she was she works hard for her money. She was ooh, love you, baby. And then a bunch of other ones. I don't know, a whole bunch of stuff. Donna Summer, I'm putting her in heaven. I always liked her. What's not to like? I was 7. She made songs you could dance to. Donna Summer, putting her in heaven. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any worse either, because as it turns out, she's highly respected for the stuff that she did, the work that she did with, who was that guy? Sergio Mendes? Was that guy the king of the disco beat? That Mr. Four on the Floor, Mr. German producer with a South American name? I don't know, whatever. She's going to heaven. There you have it. All right, once again, we'd like to thank our executive producer of today's show, the always encouraging Mama B. Mama B was yesterday's big tipper. If you want to be the executive producer of Monday's show, please tip the show. That's how the show runs. That's how, quite frankly, my life runs. And it's running on fumes, as we like to say. So drop a little something. And if you are the big tipper of today's show, and let's be honest, if you're the only tipper, you'll probably be the big tipper. You will be Monday's executive producer. Thank you so much. There's your reminder. And that's how you do it. I'll leave that up. All right, let's get into all of the things that are happening today. Let's run through today's big subjects, okay? We start globally because I think that, that's probably the most important stuff. And it's a story that I've been telling you about now for the last couple of days, because you got to watch this. And it's happening in that story that we've lost interest in. which is the Ukraine-Russia war. What did I tell you? In the last couple of days, we had Blinken over there with the big giant Publishers Clearinghouse check for $2 billion in aid. He's playing guitar, completely tone deaf to the situation. Hey, man, it's fun. I just gave you $2 billion. Let's rock. Shut up, dude. Get back in your suit, get on the plane, and get home. You're an embarrassment. So we had that. Now, why is it so important that they get this money now? Well, because there is the Russian Putin summer offensive, as they call it, gearing up right there, getting ready to sweep into Kiev. 500,000 Russian troops have mobilized and are ready to go and are going. They are slowly advancing, heading towards Kiev. So Kiev needs the help. And that's why Blinken's there. Look at me, I'm the savior. And then he jams out. Seriously, I can't get past the fact that our Secretary of State decided to take that moment to go play and jam in a bar band. Oh, how embarrassing. So we've got that, right? So on the eve of all of that happening, we also have the assassination attempt of the Prime Minister of Slovakia, which is a pro-Putin NATO member, essentially a mole for Putin inside the NATO and European Union ranks. So that guy gets taken out. So now we got all that shit happening. And what did I tell you? I told you none of this is happenstance. This is all by design. We are gearing up. They're cleaning out the trash inside NATO, getting rid of that guy before they start having any real meetings. And what happens while this guy is in the hospital recuperating from being shot 5 times in the belly? What happens? NATO last night is now openly discussing. And what happens when we start openly discussing things that were believed to be impossible? Well, when we start openly discussing them, we begin the process of normalizing the concept of it becoming an inevitability. And that's what's happening from the beginning of the Ukraine and Russia conflict. The thing that we in the West have been hyper-focused on is what place does NATO take in all of this? NATO has been, we're not even getting involved. We're not even flying our jets over their land. They're not even, it was unthinkable that NATO could get involved. And guess what? Now, as of the last 24 hours, NATO allies are inching closer to sending troops into the Ukraine. That's what's called the normalization of the idea. It was unthinkable to put NATO troops in Ukraine because that was the red line. That was the stated red line. Putin said it. We said it. The red line is no NATO troops will be in the Ukraine. We're not advising. We're not on the boots on the ground. And now what do you have? Now you have NATO allies openly talking about this in session. Well, what if we do send troops on the ground? What do you mean? That's a possibility? Guys, that's the start of World War III. The minute NATO troops engage with Russian troops, whether it's in defense or as advisors or as whatever, the minute NATO troops engage with Russian troops, that's World War III. That's how it starts. Right now, it's just Ukraine. It's just Ukraine, a non-NATO member. I mean, there are rules to NATO that were established 70 years ago that trigger things that there's not even a choice in. Allies are inching closer to sending troops into Ukraine, a move that would be another blurring of a previous red line and could draw the United States and Europe more directly into war with Russia. Ukraine's manpower shortage has reached critical points, and its position on the battlefield in recent weeks has seriously worsened as Russia has accelerated its advances to take advantage of delays in shipments of American arms. As a result, Ukrainian officials have asked their American and NATO counterparts to help train 150,000 new recruits closer to the front line for faster deployment. This is what happened in Vietnam. We're just sending advisors. We're just sending 100,000 advisors. Bunch of kids from Kansas and Ohio. It's where we are now. It's where we are. Because anyway, NATO openly discussing now putting troops in the Ukraine. Slovakia. Let's move over to Slovakia because that's another linchpin in this whole thing. How did World War I start? Well, there was that little mess, that little kerfuffle with the Archduke Ferdinand. Slovakia. How did World War III start? Well, I don't know. There was that little kerfuffle with the Prime Minister of Slovakia. Here's what's happening. So there are very few details. They're not telling us a whole lot about this guy, the lone wolf. Remember, he's a lone wolf. Nothing to see here, nothing to see here. With a few details about the assassination attempt, questions are now swirling in Slovakia. What are those questions? Questions that I was asking 2 days ago. We did this, right? I mean, I guess that's not a question. It is. We did this, right? America, hi, I'm representing America. We did this. We're involved in that. And that's basically what the whole world is saying. This is America, right? This is, and that in and of itself is not good to have people openly, because now we're the guys. Now we're the guys that did this. So we got blood on our hands with whatever happens next. Questions were swirling in Slovakia on Friday as shock over the attempted assassination of Prime Minister Robert Fico began to give way to trepidation over what comes next. The authorities have kept details about the attack, the assailant, and even who is leading the country, while the Prime Minister is hospitalized, to a minimum. Officials say they will provide more information soon, but that the situation is sensitive. The first question that we must ask is who benefits from the removal of Prime Minister? That's what we got to ask. Who benefits? I think the answer to that question is clearly Western influences in the United States of America directly. Yep, that's right. We did it. Now what? That's how the world works. Yeah, we got some badass spooks out there. We'll see. All right, let's move on to the Trump trial. Trump trial. There is no Trump trial today. Today it's graduation. Congratulations, Baron Trump. Remember that this was the date the judge, he's not going to let me go. You know, he made a big whole thing. He's literally blocking me from going. And people were like, what? He hadn't ruled on that. That's not even, the judge won't let me go. Well, he's there. He's there. I guess today's the big day for Baron Trump. And there's no court. There's no court. He's there. He's free to go. He can do whatever he wants. But here, I want to show you something. Whatever. They put a rat on the stand the last couple of days, and guess what? Some of the stories, the rat's story has holes in it, just like his cheese. I don't know. Rat jokes. I'm struggling, people. I'm struggling. I want to show you, though. This is, we don't have cameras in the courtroom, so we can't actually watch. And I think that CNN finally went, why are we showing artist depictions? What is this about? You know, courtroom artists, that used to be a thing where that's the only way you could see. So CNN's like, that's stupid. That just looks 1970s. Let's not do that anymore. So they stopped doing the artist depictions. And this is what they're doing now. And I'm loving this. Have you seen the CNN innovation? What do we call this? I guess we'll call it the Trump trial reenactments that they're doing live in studio. It's like bad actors doing scene study. This is what actors do. Actors get scripts and they just sit there and they read the scripts. Here you go, a little bit of role play happening on CNN. This, honestly, of all of the things, this is my favorite new innovation. Here's a role playing from the Trump trial on CNN every night. Well, not every night, only on the nights that the trial is happening.
Now, after you learned from Dylan Howard and from Keith Davidson about the Stormy Daniels story and are wanting to publish that story and the conversations about purchasing that story, did you speak to Mr. Trump?
I did.
Can you tell us, first of all, why did you speak to Mr. Trump about it?
Because it was a matter that affected him, and because that was what I always did, which was to keep him abreast of everything.
Was this also a serious matter at that time?
A very serious matter.
Did you tell him what you had heard from Dylan Howard and Keith Davidson?
Yes.
And what was his reaction?
He was really angry with me. I thought you had this under control. I thought you took care of this. I expressed to Mr. Trump, we did, 2011. I have no control over what she goes out and does. And he expressed to me, there is previous denial. Just take care of it. There was a lot going on at the campaign at the time. He was like, just take care of it.
Did he say anything to you at that time about how this might be viewed if it got out?
Yes.
What did he say in substance?
He said to me, this is a disaster, total disaster. Women are going to hate me because this is really a disaster. Women will hate me. Guys may think it's cool, but this is going to be a disaster for the campaign.
What, if anything, did you understand about withdrawn? What did you understand him to mean by women will hate this and what his concern was?
And scene. All right. There you have it. CNN doing role play every night. Just two lawyers reading the scripts like bad actors. I guess it starts again on Monday. Is it going to be more Michael Cohen? They putting the rat back up there? I'm not saying that Michael Cohen is lying about all of this stuff. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's a rat. I'm saying he's a piece of garbage human being, and a piece of garbage human being probably does piece of garbage stuff. And when the piece of garbage human being talks about the piece of garbage stuff that this piece of garbage human being has done, the other side's going to be able to go, but he's a piece of garbage, and we can't put that's muddying the waters to the highest degree. I believe him. I mean, of course I believe him. You got the other side in trial, the Trump side, the defense side. They're still pretending like he didn't bone her. They're still pretending like he never had sex with her. He would never cheat on his wife. I mean, come on. That's where that side is. And then you got Cohen going, okay, you want to hear all the bad stuff we did? And then they're going, you're a bad person. He's like, yeah, I'm a real bad person. Listen to all this bad stuff I did. Can you have it both ways? I don't know. If you're a bad person, if you're a duplicitous person, and you're talking about all the duplicitous things that you've done, does that negate what he's a good person? What are we saying here? He's actually a good person because he's lying about being a bad person because he's a liar? I don't know. It muddies the water. He's a piece of garbage human being. But how is this different than like mob trials and, gangbangers testifying against each other? I mean, the people who know the information about the shitty stuff you did are going to be shitty people. I mean, I don't know. All right, moving on. How about this Alito story? New York Times wrote a story this morning about Justice Alito, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, and about how his wife apparently, he's putting it on his wife. We don't know. It's the Alito household. But on the days following the January 6th, is that when it happened? When did it happen? January 6th. On the days following January 6th, I should probably have, better awareness of the exact date that democracy came under attack. But, I'm willing to walk away. I'm willing to just look at that whole thing and just be like, all right, just not talk about it. Like a family when something really embarrassing happens at a reunion like 10 years previously. You don't bring it up at the next reunion. You don't talk about it. Let's just treat. Look, I know to some of you that said, no, they must all pay. And I know. Look, that's not, I'm not willing to go to the mats over that. Can we just acknowledge that something happened and we're just not going to talk about it collectively? We're just going to be like, okay. So anyway, apparently in the days following that, Samuel Alito on his property there at his house, they flew an upside down American flag, the flag of a coup, the flag of distress. I don't know what all this means. It's a bad look. It's a bad look where you've got someone with incredible power, lifelong power, Supreme Court. You can get that gig for life. Dude like that doing something that's kind of weird, that, that's something like I talk about the 15% crazy on the right and the 15% crazy on the left. That's something 15% crazy on the right would do, fly their flag upside down. And most of them of that 15% crazy on the right, they're not on the Supreme Court of the United States. So you can see how this is a little bit more distressing. But again, whatever. Seems like it was years ago. They got pictures of it. I mean, it's a real thing. And Alito now in the hours since the New York Times ran this story, Alito's like, my wife did it. They always throw their wives under the bus. I don't know. Again, let's just move on. Let's move past it. Is it disheartening? To some degree, yeah, I would think that the members of the Supreme Court would be above all of that. But okay. Troubling. So that's the Alito story. Apparently, his property flew an upside down American flag, which is the sign for distress or treason or whatever. So moving on. Although, as a guy who looks at all of these crazy right-wing conspiracy bullshit and I'm like, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. This is the kind of shit that goes, well, that seems like that would be nonsense. Like if somebody told me that happened, One of the Supreme Court justices was openly flying a flag of treason during, the hours that followed January 6th. If you had told me that, I'd be like, go back to your Q hole, weirdo. Go back to your little weird QAnon hole. If you had told me that, because I wouldn't have believed it. But it's true. Alito himself is talking about their neighbors all have pictures of it. So it happened. I don't know what's real. I don't know anything. I don't know. Let's just have fun. Let's just make fun of celebrities and have fun. I am so tired of worrying about when are the aliens coming. That's it. That's my big thing. Let the aliens show up, and then we'll all forget about all this silly nonsense that is creepy and weird. All right, moving on. Houston. Let's talk about Houston. Houston went through some stuff. Our weird brother. What is Houston to us here in Dallas? It's our brother, right? I mean, it's our brother. Houston's our brother. But what are they? They're like our weird brother, right? They're like if you think about Dallas, like what is Dallas? How does Dallas represent? And I think like a good way to say, well, here's what Dallas is. Dallas is Matthew McConaughey in a tuxedo at the Met Gala in like 2004. That's Dallas. Matthew McConaughey, tuxedo, Met Gala. Down home, good dude, but also a little bougie, a little highfalutin, a little sophisticated. There's some elegance there. Houston is like Houston is like Beyonce sending back food at like a Popeye's chicken, like an angry Beyonce. These scary, intimidating Beyonce. That's how I think of Houston. Houston scares me. Houston intimidates me. It's dirty and moving on. But our friends, nonetheless, down in Houston, our brothers and sisters, they've gone through something. They had a really bad tornado situation yesterday. We got some video. Let's watch some of this video. Millions were without power for a period of time down in Harris County and beyond. But it was downtown Houston that actually took some damage. Let's watch this video. Here's a bunch of video from downtown Houston as tornadoes tore through one of our nation's great. This looks like it's in a hotel. You know what? I think we can actually just scroll this. I believe it's this entire. Yeah. All right. We'll just do that. Okay. Here we go. All right. Check this out. This is like some downtown Houston hotel as a tornado rips through downtown. Look at that window popping out. I mean, that glass window is just popping. All right, there's one here. We've got some more. I think this whole thread has a bunch of Houston video. Let's see what this. Here's some damage. Check this out.
Coma mierda. ¿Qué putas le pasó, viejo? Coma mierda. Hoy sí ya la cagamos. ¿Qué putas le pasó, viejo?
Only in Texas. Okay, are there any other? All right, anyway. There you have it. Houston took a beating. Some tornadoes. Crazy weather. I don't know what's the weekend going to be like around here. We have really here in Dallas, like the immediate Dallas area, we've escaped everything this spring. I mean, there's been bad weather all around us. There's been bad weather all over the country, but I don't know. We've been pretty good. Let's see here. Damage, power outages as deadly storm hits Houston. That's Houston. That's not us here in Dallas. Today's going to be a high of 83. Looks like it's going to be summer all weekend. Summer all weekend. Sunny skies, highs in the 90s. All right, summer's here. Welcome. Welcome to summer. All right, now let's talk about the big story, the fun story. This is a story that got everybody a tizzy all over social medias. I woke up to this morning and was like, what? What? Get out of here. Why? This doesn't go with all the stereotypes I've been led to believe about professional athletes. Let's talk a little bit about this neighborhood right here, Highland Park, Texas. Let's talk about Highland Park's own Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler's lives a couple blocks away. He and his wife grew up here, went to school here. He's one of them rich kids. And of course, he's the world's #1 golfer. I mean, he would almost have to be, right? I don't think there's many plumbers' kids making it. Actually, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. It seems like all golfers are rich kids. Whatever. That's fine. It's not the kid's fault that his dad had money, right? Or that his grandpa had money, or that his great grandpa had money. Doesn't matter. It's not the kid's fault. I shouldn't be like that. Scotty Scheffler is, by all accounts, at least from what everybody'd been saying, a good guy. Oh, he's a good. People are like, oh, he comes into the Inwood Tavern all the time. He's a good guy, Scotty Scheffler. So whatever. Okay, he's the world's #1 rated golfer. Got the PGA Championships going on. And so they're there for the whole week. And apparently, very early this morning, he's an early riser. He's getting himself over to the course. He's going to do a little lifting. He's going to do a little like cardio. He's going to hit some balls. And then he's got an early morning tee off. So he's getting there very early, like at sunrise, right? He's showing up. He's probably got the rental car. I don't know. Was it Buick still? They all get like a brand new Buick to truck around town while they're in town for the tournament. So he comes upon the entrance to the let me pull this up. So we've got video. So he comes up to the entrance of the golf course, and there's a bit of a line. There's a backup. There's some traffic going on there, and you can see there's police cars and all that kind of stuff. You see, there'd been an incident. There'd been a major incident on this road mere hours earlier, and they were still cleaning up for it. A man had been killed. Crossing the street, got hit by a bus or something like that. I don't know. I'm not really concerned with those details. I should be, but it's more interesting because a celebrity gets involved here shortly. So a man was killed, and they were, there's a backup still on the road as they do what you do when there's a dead person. And it was basically inconveniencing Scotty Scheffler, the world's #1 rated golfer. And so he decided that he was going to go around the line. We've seen it. I just need to turn in here. If you want to just let me, all I got to do is turn in here. So that's what he did. And apparently he came across a cop who was standing in the roadway, blocking him from doing what Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer, wanted to do, which was just kind of cut the line and make a left turn into the golf course. Well, the cop said, no, you can't do that. And Scotty Scheffler apparently didn't hear him, or he did hear him and just directly ignored him. Scotty Scheffler then started to drive around the cop. The cop then started hanging on Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer, his car, and went for a little bit of a ride. A number of people say that the cop hung on. The cop was injured. He injured his knee, had to be taken to the hospital. Scotty Scheffler then stopped his car, and he was arrested. World's #1 golfer, Scotty Scheffler, was arrested, taken into custody. Mugshot. You can see the mugshot. It's all over the place. Mugshot processed and out, and did not miss his tee time. Oh, they got him processed right quick. Dude, you and I, what would they say if you get arrested for doing something like that, dragging a cop at like 6 a.m.? What do you think they'd say to us when we're like, well, I've got a 9 a.m. tee time that I simply must make? Think there'd be any chance that we'd make that? Come on. All right, so let me show you what happened here, and then we'll talk a little bit about what was going on. Is he an evil man? No, he's not an evil man. Did he probably lose his shit at the just absurdity of the inconvenience? Yeah, probably. Here, let's watch this. This is some video. Now, all of this happened in front of an ESPN reporter, Jeff Darlington, who I believe is covering the golf for ESPN. Here, we got some video. This is world #1 golfer. I keep saying that. Scotty Scheffler. Boom. Hold on one second. Hold on, guys. Got to do something real quick here. Okay. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. All right, here it is. This is going to be it. Here's video of world #1 golfer, Highland Park Zone, Scotty Scheffler being arrested for dragging a cop.
Guys.
Dude, step back.
I'm back. I'm back.
You're game one, right?
Yeah, that's a 15.
Guys,
What do we tell you?
I'm staying back.
Here's the thing. Right now, he's going to jail.
Okay.
He's going to jail, and it ain't nothing you can do about it. Period. There's nothing you can do about it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you have
First,
a question?
I'm media. I'm a
Okay,
reporter. Okay.
okay.
So that's all.
That's fine.
I just want to make sure that's
Okay,
known.
but you need to step
No
back
problem.
over here now.
No problem. You got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So there you go. That's the video of Scotty Scheffler being arrested. Can I tell you my favorite part about that video is the cop at the end where he's like, nah, he's going to jail. I mean, he did a really good job. Now he's going to jail and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Now, do you have a question? And the dude's like, well, I'm with the media. And it's, okay. Oh, isn't that good for you? How long you been doing it? It's like, okay. And isn't that fun? Is that fun job? Do you enjoy doing? He was good. He was good at diffusing the situation. I like that guy. So here's what happened with Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer and Highland Park resident. He was late. He was inconvenienced. He's rich. He's famous. And he just figured he'd get away with it. He just figured, you're going to let me go. I'll get close enough. And then the cop will lean in my window and I'll be like, but I'm Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer. And he's going to be like, oh, you're Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer. You just go right ahead, sir. I mean, it's the very definition of entitlement. There is no way that Scotty Scheffler had ever considered in the moments before making this decision. There is no way that Scotty Scheffler ever thought that this was going to end with him in handcuffs. Well, that's absurd. He's Scotty Scheffler. He's not a criminal. There's real criminals out there. Okay, so if I do it, I'll probably get away with it and we'll have a laugh about it. I'll give him some tickets to the Friday's round. That's what he thought. There was no malice. Not a bad guy for thinking that. He's been conditioned to think that. He's a kid from Highland Park. You should see the way the people in Highland Park drive around this neighborhood. You should see. There is zero regard for speed limits. Every street in this neighborhood is 20 miles per hour. Everybody drives at least 40 on super narrow streets. Why? Because they don't give a shit about speeding tickets. Chances are they're going to be let go anyway. And even if they're not let go, what the fuck do they care about speeding tickets? They're rich. Whatever. Their insurance is going to go up, really? People who pay $5,000 a month in lawn care, you think they're worried about their insurance going? Anyway, point is this. He assumed that he was going to get away with it. He assumed that this was going to be not a big deal. So why not? I'll try it. Whatever. That is entitlement. Pugs, what are you talking about? No, but it is. It is at its most base form. That's entitlement. The very idea that he thinks it's absurd that he could go to jail for that. Now, there is a whole other group of people in this country, and maybe it does come down to skin color. Maybe this is the Black American experience, but it's also the white trash experience, of which I claimed. Well, I'm not white trash. I come from working class. It's also a working class experience where you might have warrants and you don't want to get run, so you're really afraid of basically everything that an interaction with a cop could bring. But see, those are the people who don't have that entitlement. Those people are like, yeah, I'd love to just be able to go and cheat the medium here, but then they're going to run me and then I'm going to end up, but so they don't do it. So, there is, but that is entitlement. You might hate it. I hate Pugs. You talking about it. People have entitlements. Every time you see an old woman, like you see these on YouTube, these another Karen gets arrested. Whenever you see like an old woman will be in an argument in a Walmart parking lot and someone will be filming her, like a younger person. Okay, Karen. Okay. And just mocking her. And then that Karen, that older white woman, she will inevitably react physically and like try and swat the camera. Well, now that's an assault charge and it's on camera and now they got it. And when the police show up, that Karen always cannot understand why she's going to jail, has absolutely no understanding of how she's not allowed to do what she did. That's entitlement. That's just certain people are just raised in a certain way, not worrying about certain things. And that's what Scotty Scheffler experienced. Scotty Scheffler thought, I'm just going to skirt this today. I'm going to go around. Nothing's going to happen to me. Come on, guys. And it didn't go that way for him. And it didn't. But to his credit, that's why I thought it was important that we watched the Scotty Scheffler being arrested video. He was fine. He behaved the way you need to behave if you're being videoed or if you're being arrested. You need to understand that you are being videotaped in 2024 at every minute of whatever this thing is. Everybody's seeing everything you do. He seemed fine. He wasn't like, man, you can't arrest me. I'm the world's #1 golfer. He didn't do any of that, so that's good. Now we'll see some police body cam. I'm sure there'll be more that's released. I'm sure we'll see him in the backseat of the car. Maybe he does say some things. But I can completely understand how this situation got to where it was. He's a wealthy, connected, famous celebrity who was being momentarily inconvenienced by a highway backup, and he thought, well, what's the harm? I mean, I'm Scotty Scheffler, the world's #1 golfer. I'm just going to go around him. That's what he thought. I mean, whether consciously or subconsciously, that was the motivation that made him decide that he was going to disregard what was going on, turn into oncoming traffic, and then drive straight towards a police officer who was telling him to stop, stop, stop. And then when he got to that police officer, the police officer held onto the side of the car and he kept going, dragging the police officer. He never in a million years thought he was going to stop and go, you okay? Did I drag you there? Hi, Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer. Like, that's what he thought. That's how he thought it was going to go down. And it didn't. Entitlement got kicked in the nuts today. It was like, what, really, boys? Is this necessary? Yeah, it is. It is necessary, I suppose. All right, Scotty Scheffler, that story is developing, ... I'll have you know that he did not miss his tee time. He was there on the course at 9 a.m. for his tee off. And, we're going to have to see how this plays out, because already you've got Scotty Scheffler's camp saying things like, this was just a misunderstanding and he didn't hear him and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to see a police body cam. We're going to see what the cop said, where the cop was, and the attitude of Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer, as he drove past him and dragged him. That's what happens. Figured he could get away with it for whatever reason. And I'm thinking the reason is because he's Scotty Scheffler, world's #1 golfer. All right. How about this one? Hey, she's taking some shit here. Boebert, Lorraine Boebert. God, she's a hottie, isn't she? You got to say something. I'm going to say a whole bunch of bad stuff, so let me start out with some good stuff. That Lauren Boebert, she is one trampy hottie. It's just, boy, oh, she does something to me. I'm still working on my list. The other day, I got pinned into a corner. I was trying to do my draft of hot Republican women in jeans. That's a legitimate draft that I'm going to have to come up with. Republican women in politics who look awesome in jeans. It's a draft. It's a legit draft. And right at the top of it, I think Boebert is going to be there, but also Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem looks good in jeans. I don't know what to tell you. Same with that Katie Britt. I saw Katie Britt. Yeah, I looked into this. I was like, hot Republican chicks in jeans, and a whole bunch of them came up. So I'm always willing to talk about Boebert. Although today, sadly, we're not going to talk about how hot she looks in jeans. We're going to talk about how she showed up at Trump's trial. This is taking some hits today. She shows up. She's one of these people who are showing up for the Trump trial. All of these acolytes are showing up just to prove how loyal they are to him and how you're not going through this alone. I mean, it's one of the uncomfortable things that has always been a part of my severe dislike for that dude. That weirdo dude. Do you remember, like, on his first day with his new assembled cabinet in 2016, where he made them all go around the room and talk about how great he was? Come on, man. That was just the beginning. So anyway, he likes it. He's got a whole bunch of these people showing up at his trial. Lauren Boebert is one of them. And she says that there is no way that she could stand by and allow this to happen. She had to be there, and she will always be there having President Trump's back. That is what Lauren Boebert said yesterday. Of course, here's the real funny thing. See, Lauren Boebert, she, on the day before, her 17-year-old son was on trial in Colorado for a felony of like just, well, being a crazy mountain kid. He was on trial, and she missed his trial. She missed her teenage son's criminal trial in Colorado because she was traveling to attend Trump's trial in New York. Seriously, there's no shame. You got to go to your kid, your little dirtbag kid, your little dirtbag mountain trash kid. He's like on trial. He's 17 years old. Mom, come on. No, instead, you're like going to sit there for some TV time with the Trump trial. You're terrible. And then there's this. This is another thing that's trending right now about Boebert, who, no matter what I say about her, you cannot take away from her the fact that she looks amazing in jeans. Here's Boebert. This is trending right now. Boebert's Christian, right? I mean, I know they all say they're Christian, but she's one of those fakey Christians, right? She's just doing it because, like, I'm Christian because I was told to be Christian, but she's not really, like, biblical. She doesn't really know shit, right? I don't think so, because this was caught yesterday. This is her. By the way, we're going to get into this. Congress had a throwdown last night, and it is crazy. We've got the audio, and we'll listen to it. So, but this is Boebert last night during the throwdown of the audio that we're going to be watching. Look at this. She tries to do the sign of the cross, which any good Catholic knows. And I would think that, is this a Christian thing? Okay, so the sign of the cross, guys. Let me show you what the sign of the cross is. Catholic sign of the cross is boom, 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 boom. And in the Catholic religion, it's just a sign of, oh my God. Like if something bad has happened, you just instinctively just go, oh geez, like, oh my God, we're going through this again, right? It's just an instinctive thing. I do it all the time. But it's boom, 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 boom. That's the sign of the cross. It's not that hard. So, but that's a Catholic thing. I don't know what a Christian, do the Christians do that too? Because that is decidedly a Catholic thing. And the whole cross is a Catholic thing. We talked about that yesterday, but I know that is crossed over into all the other Christian denominations. So here she is. This is Boebert. She doesn't know how to do the sign of the cross. Watch this. Boom, 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 boom. She didn't do the one. Watch this. Boom, boom. She doesn't know what she's doing. It's another fake Christian for it. Boom, boom. She can't. Or does she know how to do it? She's just that uncoordinated because, all the chromosomes went to making a hot ass in blue jeans, and she can't really get the coordination down for this. Boom, boom. She's doing it wrong. That is. All right. There you have it. Two things about Boebert. Three things. She looks great in blue jeans. She decided to go to the Trump trial and said that she would never miss an important thing like that while missing her own 17-year-old son's juvenile delinquent trial. And she doesn't know how to do the sign of the cross, but she's a good Christian. There you go. Boebert. She's the best. All right, what else do we have here? Congress hooking up. Here's a story that came out and concerns one of our people here in Texas. One of our, we got a Texas, we got some, is she a North Texas Congresswoman? I don't know. We got Republican congressman files for divorce amid rumored relationship with House GOP colleague. Rep from Georgia Rep. Rich McCormick filed for divorce earlier this month and is rumored to be romantically involved with House Rep. Beth Van Doyne, Republican from Texas. Beth Van Doyne, she from this area? She's like a Frisco Congresswoman or something. Anyway, look at that. Love is in the air. So you got this happily married Christian right-wing dude who's ditching his wife for another chick who's a good Christian right wing. They're hooking up in Congress. They're cheating on each other's husbands, and now they're going to find love in Washington, D.C. Someone get Shonda Rhimes on the phone. We've got a new show. All right. That was really just a story so that we could get to this. That was Congress hooking up. This is Congress breaking down. This was last night. So last night there was a House committee hearing on the impeachment of Merrick Garland, which, if I'm being honest, I'm not against. I would certainly like to hear that. I think Merrick Garland is absolutely terrible. I think that history is going to remember him as a complete joke of a Secretary of State. I think that, Attorney General. I think that he got housed on the Supreme Court. He should absolutely be on the Supreme Court. But if his behavior as the Attorney General is any indication, maybe I'm just glad that he's not on the Supreme Court, because he will be gone as Attorney General fairly soon. Anyway, the right-wing Congress in this committee trying to impeach Merrick Garland. Again, I'd like to hear this debate, and I was actually watching this last night. I didn't get to see this happen live, but boy, oh boy, was it contentious even leading up to this. So the situation is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene criticizes, is it Jasmine Crockett? Yeah, criticizes Jasmine Crockett. Again, this is about whether or not we're supposed to be impeaching the Attorney General of the United States. I'll just play it for you. I want you to listen to it. The audio's good. This is one of the rare occasions when it probably was cool to be watching C-SPAN last night. I was watching it on this NBC News Now. That's on the TV downstairs on the right. Okay, here. Let me just show this to you. Boom. Listen to this. This is our United States Congress. This was last night. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here.
All right, so just so that you understand what that's about, because it is kind of a cold start, and I'll start it again. Marjorie Taylor Greene, just out of nowhere, just comes with something that has nothing to do with what they're talking about. She's just openly trying to derail whatever is happening here. For whatever reason, I don't know. She likes camera time. She's not a serious person. So anyway, everyone in Congress now is trying to figure out, oh God, what is she doing? What is this about? What is she doing? Watch this again.
Judge Merchan's daughter. I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order, Mr. Chairman.
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
history.
regain
That's
order
beneath
of
even
your
you.
committee. Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words.
All right, so what you just heard there was Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who's kind of hot herself, being honest. Jasmine Crockett says, do you know what we're here for? And Marjorie Taylor Greene immediately goes, you got stupid fake eyelashes. And then everybody's like, wow. And then Ocasio-Cortez gets involved. Now she's like, get that, we need that stricken from the record, which is, oh my God, just let it go. Just let it go. Anyway, we'll continue. Here we are. This is last night in the United States Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ocasio-Cortez getting into it.
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are
so.
going to move, and we're going to take your words down.
I second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. Ms. Greene agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
needs to apologize.
recognizes
No.
Mr. Perry.
She needs to
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Greene
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
out of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
move to
I would
strike-
like to
Move to
strike
strike
those
the
as
lady's
well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right,
get
okay,
your members under
here's the
control.
correct parliament. Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection,
Not apologizing.
Reserve 21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Who's
It's me.
Ms. Crockett?
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold on.
part.
Chairman.
Okay, what was that? So just to be clear, Mr. Chairman, if someone was to make a comment about another's bleach blonde butch body, that's Jasmine Crockett. She's pretty hot, man. She's pretty hot. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not. She does not want to get into like a, couple of club girls in the bathroom, at a club at 3:00 in the morning.
And I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold on.
I'm
parliament.
trying to find clarification on what quality.
Chairman, motion to
I had
strike
no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just said
You
yes.
just voted to do
Y'all did
it.
it first, so you don't
just
talk
voted to do
Say
it.
you're gonna get
Order,
Marjorie
order.
on
I'm
the
trying to
lead.
get clarification.
Look it, calm down. Calm
No,
down.
because this
I
is
would
what
like
y'all
to get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games,
I can't hear
Crockett.
you with your
and
yelling.
You don't want
Calm
me
down.
to be,
Can
no,
you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a
Mr.
problem.
Chairman, Mr.
Order.
Chairman.
All right,
Sorry.
chair.
I don't know
Okay.
why you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes.
Yay! That's the Congress of these here United States, the greatest nation that God ever created. Bleach blonde, butch build body. That Jasmine Crockett didn't know who she was until last night, but she's I never saw her before. She's good looking. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not. That was just so stupid. All of that was so stupid. And Marjorie Taylor Greene started it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one that went, she went, she's the one that changed the subject. They all just want to get out of there and go home because they don't want to be doing their job. They want to get out of there and go home. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one that opened up this whole new thing. It's like, oh, by the way, do any of you employ Judge Merchan's daughter? That's the dude who's overseeing the Trump trial in New York. It has nothing to do with this situation, but she throws it out there anyway. And then she gets called on it by Jasmine Crockett, who's like, what's that have to do with anything? Do you know what you're doing here? And then it was Marjorie Taylor Greene who goes, I know what I'm doing here. You don't know what you're doing here because you can't see past your fake eyelashes. She went there. And then Jasmine Crockett fired back with, okay, so if I was to say that you are a bleach blonde, butch built bodied bitch, I could not get in trouble for that. Can I get... That was awesome. Those people are awesome. Leslie C. says Jasmine Crockett is the replacement for longtime Rep. Eddie Bernice Johnson. I don't know who that is either, but I do know that that Jasmine Crockett girl, she don't play. I'm just saying. Fiery, smart, educated, empowered black girls. Scary. They're scary to white dudes. Trump don't know how to handle that. I've always said that about Trump, that's his kryptonite. You know why Trump keeps winning? Because they keep sending a bunch of doughy boardroom country club white dudes to go up against Trump. Those are the people that Trump has been destroying in business for 30, 40 years. Trump, I don't think Trump knows how to handle an angry black woman. I don't think Trump knows how, I don't think he would know how to navigate that. Like that Jasmine Crockett there going, the head going, and she doesn't want to fuck him and she doesn't want his money. That's something that he's never had to deal with before. I think that's his kryptonite. I used to say, they ought to send Kamala out after him, but I don't think she could do that either. I don't know what she is. She doesn't have the fire of Jasmine Crockett. Like a girl on a city bus that you're She's being mean to you. I've been on the city buses. Ooh. Anyway, I got a new favorite. I think Jasmine. What's she about? Well, she's probably a crazy lefty, right? Is that what she is? I don't know. How's she look in jeans? That's the only criteria I have for people in Congress. How do they look in jeans? Anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez getting down in Congress last night. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, Biden today. We were talking about this. Biden's going on a full court press with the American black. That's right. They're panicking in Biden land about, black voters, even though he's still got like 70%. But what? He needs to get 100%. Is that it? I don't know. He's still dominating. It's not even close, but this being the anniversary, as we mentioned, and antecedently on this day, this being the anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education, Biden's going on a full court press to address the American black. That's how it's essentially being. Biden's going to speak at a number of historically black universities, giving the commencement speech at Morehouse. Is it Morehouse where he's giving the graduation commencement speech? He came out this morning, and he did a whole press conference about being black, about how he's trying to kiss up. And I'm telling you, here's the problem, okay? And again, I don't know how much of a problem. As I said, the latest polls still show him like with 70% of the black voters going to vote Democrat. They're not going to vote Trump. So I don't know how much of a problem this is, but the problem is that Biden still has this. How do I place this? Biden came up in the wake of the civil rights movement. I'm not going to say that he was there in the civil rights movement, but in the early 70s, Civil Rights Act had already passed, and there were strife and struggles, and yes, there was a movement going on. And in that time, in the Democratic Party, the way that they decided that they were going to appeal to black voters was to present themselves as their ally, as their superior. We're the white people who are going to help you up. And that had long been sort of the ideology, the way that the organized Democratic Party in America looked at the black voters. The argument was, we're the white men who are going to help you up. Those other white men, they just want to keep you down. That was the argument. And that was why for years and years and years, the black voter in America overwhelmingly supported Democratic causes and Democratic candidates. Biden still looks at it like that. And I think, and I'm not saying this is not giving credit to the right. I'm not sure that the right figured this out on their own. I don't think they'd ever really given much thought to being able to make huge inroads with, minority presences and voters here in the United States. But I do think that times have changed, okay? And this is kind of how the right is going about it now. Instead of saying, hey, down there, we're going to help you up. The Democratic Party cares about you. We're your allies. We're going to bring you up. Instead of saying that the way you could get away with saying that in 1978, 1985, or whatever. Instead of saying that now, I think there is a resentment of the idea that they still need to be helped up. That makes any sense. I mean, certainly there is great things and inequalities and all that need to be done. But I think that there are Black Americans who have now, the American experience of the past 30, 40 years. I think that they might resent the idea that we need a handout and a help up. So instead of sort of being drawn to the party that is like, we're going to help you up and we're an ally, I think they're being drawn to the party that is saying, yeah, whatever, you got the money to be in this club? Because if you got the money to be in this club, you can be in this club. Which is being treated more like an equal. Now, an equal based entirely on your income status, your economic power, but I think that's what it is. I think that this is the exact same thing. Why I say, working class people vote in elections against their best interest. It's the mansion on the hill syndrome. It's the idea that I'm a working class person and I can't afford that big mansion or to join that fancy country club. But if I carry their water And if I support their causes, at some point, they're going to invite me in. That's the Mansion on the Hill syndrome. And that has never been applied to minority voters in America. And it should be, because to not apply that to Black American voters is to somehow suggest that they aren't exactly the same as white voters with the same American dreams and the same aspirations. So Biden going on this full court press over the next 72 hours of, trying to win back the hearts and minds of the Black American, it's doomed from the start. Stop treating Democratic Party, stop treating the Black American voter like they're somebody that needs your pity and charity. Start treating them like they're a part of this fight. But no, it's, come on, I'm going to give you a hands up. He said today, he was talking about how he's been supporting these causes. You shouldn't have to remind people of that, President Biden. It should be a foregone conclusion that you've been supporting these things. You're just ringing the bell in your time of need. And now you're what? Now you're going to be cool, Joe. You're going to show up smoking a Camel. No, wait, it would be menthols, right? He's smoking. Is that what it is? The Republican Party does not give a shit about whether or not if you are Black or not. The Republican Party wants you to have the earning power to be able to contribute to what it is that they got going on. If you're a Black guy who makes $150,000 a year, you are welcome. And I think that there is a large population of generational Black Americans who are, I'd prefer that. I would actually prefer the people who don't look at me as a skin color and immediately go, oh, I need to help that poor, impoverished minority person. I think that's a lot of what's going on here. And Biden should be scared. And yet here he is out there doing the exact same thing. I'm your Uncle Joe. I've been helping you for years. Here, take my hand. I'll pull you up. All right, Biden and his Black offensive. President Biden is engaging in a flurry of events this week centered around the 70th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court case that ended racial segregation in public schools. Part of an intensified push to court Black voters critical to his reelection bid. On Sunday, he'll be at a closely watched commencement speech at Morehouse College. All right, whatever. We already talked about all of that. All right, let's move on. How about a story we talked about yesterday? Let's get into this David Copperfield stuff. We got a David Copperfield update. Yesterday, we told you about all these girls, young girls, underage girls who are coming out of the woodwork to accuse billionaire magician, David Copperfield of all kinds of sketchy behaviors. Back in the time when it didn't matter, though. I guess from what I'm reading, I read the whole article yesterday after the show. And from what I understand, 1995, if you pulled up a 16-year-old on stage and then hung out with her all weekend, that was just a fun little anecdote. Seriously, that's what he would do. He hung out with underage girls all the time, according to any number of stories that are now being associated with David Copperfield in the wake of these allegations that came out yesterday. So here's the update, though. Apparently, the update is not a good one for David Copperfield. David Copperfield was apparently like close buddies with, that's right, Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein and David Copperfield, 16 correspondences in a one week period. Apparently, this goes back to 1983. They were David Copperfield's people today, in light of the story connecting him to Jeffrey Epstein, David Copperfield's people said, that was just about a show that David was doing, and Jeffrey was a guy who was looking for tickets, so David was helping him with tickets. But no, I don't believe it, because here, some of these messages that were relayed to Jeffrey Epstein through his assistant, like David Copperfield would call, is Jeffrey available? And the assistant would be like, sorry, David, he's on a phone. Would you like to take a message? And so she took these messages. Listen to some of these weird ass messages, like cryptic and weird. The message, although David Copperfield is cryptic and weird, and we know about Jeffrey Epstein. What did he say? The name on the pads, until recently, they received less scrutiny, was David Copperfield. According to copies of phone messages seen by The Guardian, David Copperfield appears to have left messages for Epstein 16 times over the course of just a few weeks. The notations on the pads include brief messages such as, "It's important," and "Just called to say hello." One says simply, "It's jackpot." without any further explanation. In a written response to questions from The Guardian, U.S., Copperfield's lawyers denied that he had left multiple messages for Epstein. But they got them. How are you denying it? They've got multiple messages, and you're going to say, well, he didn't leave multiple messages. Anyway, days just keep getting worse for old David Copperfield, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that. He seems to have had it very good for a very long time. I have had it very bad for a very, very long time. So I am expecting some upswing and really good stuff. Maybe dating a Claudia Schiffer is on my horizon. I don't know. If there is a God, that should happen. How about a Harrison Butker update? We talked about Harrison Butker yesterday. The whole world's talking about Harrison Butker. He's the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. He went and gave a speech at a small Kansas liberal arts Catholic private university. And he got up on stage and he went, women, use your house and stay in the kitchens. Come on, ladies, let's all burn these degrees that you just earned because you'd rather be pregnant. And he got up and he said a whole bunch of those things. Don't quote me directly. He said a whole bunch of those things. A bunch of things. He's a misogynist, all this kind of stuff. First of all, and this needs to be said, if you are a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, my heart bleeds for you because there has just been nothing but one distraction after another. You expect, or shouldn't say expect, but you are on some level as a football fan prepared for distractions coming from your wide receiver room. You just know going in. That there is potential that one of your wide receivers is going to do something stupid at some point, and it's going to be a distraction. There's going to be some body cam footage, and your wide receiver is going to be involved. So when it comes to the Chiefs, and they went through the Rashee Rice thing, it's terrible, but on some level, you're like, well, it's what happens. It's what happens with wide receivers. They're trouble. You don't expect trouble out of your kicker. Your kicker is not the guy that you're willing to have be a distraction. And that's what they got. The Kansas City Chiefs have a kicker that is supposedly a big distraction now because the entire Taylor Swift nation is now angry at Harrison Butker because of these misogynistic things that, again, he got up and said. He was asked to speak. Hey, what do you think, Harrison? He was asked to speak. He was invited. He accepted. He went to a bunch of people. Not one of them complained, by the way. That's the real kick in the nuts here. There wasn't anybody at the Harrison Butker speech at this small private Catholic college. There wasn't anybody there that was outraged and walked out. No. This came to the outside world because of, somebody thought I could probably get some clicks on this. And they played it and it went viral. And now everybody's talking about how he needs to be suspended. He needs to be this. Why? For what? For offending you? Somebody who just saw this clip on YouTube? You didn't go out of your way. He didn't come to your living room and start saying these things. He's not screaming this on your driveway. This is just what he thinks. You can't get over the fact that this is what he thinks and that maybe you think something different. Hell, I think something different. I was raised by a single mom. I don't have this whole belief that women are just designed to rear kids. I think that's a very important thing that women can do, but I think it's also important that we recognize that women and men do it together in the most optimal of situations. So this idea that women can only do that is funny to me, not offensive. So the outside world got highly offended by these Harrison Butker comments. Oh, he must pay. I will never go to a Kansas City Chiefs game again. Yeah, you in New Hampshire, how many games have you been to? Well, I've never been to one, but I shall never. Yeah, exactly. So those are the people who turned this into a story. People who had absolutely nothing to do. The people that paid whatever. I guess you're invited. First of all, they invited a kicker. Okay, this is what we're dealing with as far as a college. Some colleges, the President of the United States is given a commencement at Morehouse. Some schools get an Elon Musk or a Supreme Court justice or a war-winning general. They get the kicker from the Kansas City Chiefs. This is not a serious place. This is not a serious story. And nobody was injured when Harrison Butker said his stupid shit. And maybe it's not even stupid. That's unfair of me. It's what he believes. So what? It works for him. Did he find a woman who agrees with him? Yeah. Are they happy? Good. Does that mean that that's all she can do? No. Is it what she's happy doing? Apparently. Is it any of our business? None. So leave him alone. Leave him alone. But again, the outside world is calling for Harrison Butker's pelt. But here's what's happened. Harrison Butker now has the second highest selling jersey in the NFL. He is also the all-time highest selling jersey for a kicker in NFL history. Seriously. This is why the whole idea of cancel culture is so funny to me. Cancel culture only works if you are still adhering to the idea that there is a collection of kingmakers. If we're still adhering to the idea that the only way that you can have a career is if ABC, NBC, CBS, they say it's okay. If we're still pretending that's a thing, then yeah, okay, I can see how cancel culture could be real. But it's not a real thing because that construct has been blown to hell. People who are getting canceled, Disney has dropped them from their 5-picture deal. People who are getting canceled, they're just showing up and doing it themselves because we no longer need those platforms. We no longer need to kiss the ass, to kiss the ring of Disney and ABC. We know it's not a thing anymore. Harrison Butker says what he wants to say. He gets trashed by a whole bunch of people on the outside world that have absolutely nothing to do with what just occurred. And what does he get for it? He gets a bunch of strangers saying shit about him, but also the number 2 selling jersey in the NFL. Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker's jersey sales skyrocket. They now rival Patrick Mahomes' numbers over the same period of time. Harrison Butker seems to have been canceled by everyone except the people who count, the fans. See, that's exactly it. He's not canceled. There's a whole bunch of people who like what he said. Whole bunch of people. And now they got a favorite kicker. Some dude in Tampa who loves the Bucs. He's now got a favorite kicker, and he kicks for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't cancel people. We are a nation of individuals with many disparate views on all different subjects. This idea of canceling someone's thoughts, canceling someone because of their thoughts, because of their beliefs, that ship has sailed, man. It's not ABC, NBC, and CBS anymore. There's always going to be an audience that is willing to hear whatever strangely myopic views you might have, controversial, provocative, whatever they are. Harrison Butker, Kansas City Chiefs, selling out them jerseys. All right, so let's, I guess this is going to be the last one here, right? Are we ripping through these stories? Is this the last one? Yeah, this is going to be the last one. All right, so, and this isn't even a story. This is more of a personal thing, and it's a local story that for those of you who were listeners of my old radio show here in Dallas that aired for about a decade, the Pugs and Kelly show, you know that we had a string of regulars, people who were built in, who would join us every week for a little chat about whatever the hell it was that they were getting into. And as I get older, from time to time, I see these people dropping off the planet. That's right. Losing the good ones. We lost another good one, a regular friend, good friend of the Pugs and Kelly show. Had many dinners with this guy. This guy was larger than life. He was really a nice man. He was a bit of a showman. He was, you couldn't trust him 100% of the time on everything because he was a promoter extraordinaire. Ladies and gentlemen, the world lost from the Texas Motor Speedway, the great Eddie Gossage yesterday. The great Eddie Gossage. Let me just take a moment and talk a little bit about why Eddie Gossage is so important. He did our show. He did the Pugs and Kelly show. I think it was every Thursday for like 10 years. All right, what are we going to do? We got to do the TMS segment. He was the president, chief operator, the promoter, the guy, the number one dude out there at the Texas Motor Speedway. Which, and this is fun for, my friends in the Midwest or Chicago area, or even friends listening, we're streaming this from New York. I see one. I know another in San Francisco. I got people all over the place watching this. I don't think you understand what TMS is. I think that when I say the Texas Motor Speedway, for my friends in Chicago, they're like, oh yeah, we got one of those, like out in Joliet. No, you don't. No, you don't. What the Texas Motor Speedway is in the world of racing is something altogether different than anything that we're used to. Texas Motor Speedway is one of the great tracks in all of racing. And it was built, promoted, perfected, and just nurtured by the great Eddie Gossage over the years that he was president of that super speedway. It's a super speedway, brought NASCAR back to Texas after a slight, come on, could you imagine Texas without NASCAR? Eddie was great. Bigger than life promoter, 65 years old, died yesterday. Don't have any other details. I'm going to reach out to some mutual friends after the show here to find out exactly what was happening, because I didn't know that he was sick. It doesn't say anything about sudden heart attack, but 65 years old, that's young. And he was a vibrant, full of life dude. Legendary Texas Motor Speedway boss, Eddie Gossage, dead at 65. Gossage was the ultimate promoter, known for his vibrant personality, catchy lines, and many wild ideas meant to bring attention to his racetrack. You know what? Here, I think there's a story here. Let's watch a nice little story on him. Is this... I got an Eddie Gossage story. So I'm not sure if this was NASCAR or if it was IndyCar, but whatever it was, Danica Patrick was racing in the race. And I don't know if this is when she decided that she was going to race a NASCAR race or if it was just a regular old IndyCar race, but Danica Patrick was racing. And we had assigned, I think it was either Eric or Sybil, we'd assigned them, we were broadcasting live from Texas Motor Speedway. We assigned them to just shadow Danica Patrick, just whatever she was doing, and to file reports. And she wasn't really doing anything until we caught her going into a porta potty. And I guess she had toilet paper stuck on the bottom of her little race suit. And so she came out of the porta potty. We had a picture of her, toilet paper there. And that was our big breaking news. Danica Patrick humiliated exiting porta potty with toilet paper stuck to her shoes. And we put it up on whatever rudimentary form of, Facebook or whatever existed back then. But I remember we put it out and we were talking about it. See the exclusive shot of Danica Patrick. We were having fun with it. It was a stupid picture. And I remember Eddie Gossage calling me after that show and just being mad. It was the only time that I could ever tell that he was mad. And because he was a nice man and because he, a tough man. He was a tough man. You don't get to where he did in the world of racing without being tough. But he was always nice to us because we were the media. We were the hosts that had to talk about how cool it's going to be out there at Texas Motor. But he was mad. He was really mad about that. So I said, Eddie, look, we'll take it down. I'm sorry. But we didn't mean anything by it. He's like, Pugs, Danica's mad. Danica's humiliated. And I remember thinking, wait a second. So Danica Patrick knows that we were following her? Let's watch this. This is something that WFAA put together for Eddie Gossage. Again, the longtime boss out there at the Texas Motor Speedway and longtime friend of the Pugs and Kelly show. Yesterday. Passed away yesterday at the age of 65. Here we go. Let's watch this. See if I can grab this. Okay, there it is. Yep, let's watch.
Texas Motor Speedway is the house that Eddie built. Eddie Gossage, that is.
Man, my life has exceeded my dreams.
The legendary promoter and former TMS president, integral in bringing this racing mainstay to Fort Worth. But sadly, Gossage finished his race in life Thursday, according to TMS officials. He was 65.
Who builds a stadium? I got the privilege of doing that and running it then for 25 years.
Gossage, the P.T. Barnum of motorsports, who pulled off all kinds of promotional stunts to get people in the seats at TMS, working against an already saturated sports market.
Jerry and Mark Cuban are not small personalities. And not that we're competition, but we're competition with each other.
Gossage liked to joke that you could only fit 4.5 AT&T stadiums in the TMS infield.
So I try not to say it often, Jerry.
And that sense of fun was an investment that paid off. Eddie built it, and people came. unafraid to throw friendly jabs at Channel 8's own weatherman if rain ever threatened a race.
I'm bringing a couple 100,000 people over to see Troy Dungan and Pete Delkus at home. I know where they live, and we're coming over tonight if they mess this day up for us.
Family became Gossage's big draw after retiring from the Speedway in 2021. It stayed that way until his death. Everyone here at the house that Eddie built stands on the shoulder of an industry giant.
How can you ask for more in life? I'm the luckiest guy going.
In Fort Worth, I'm Matt Howerton.
Eddie Gossage, he was awesome. That's sad. I still don't know how he passed away, or if he had been sick, or if maybe he stepped away from TMS. I didn't know he stepped away from TMS 3 years ago. I don't know if he did that because he was diagnosed with something. I mean, I could see him being a private guy about that stuff because his public persona was fun and health and follow Eddie to the good time. You know, that's who he was. That's what TMS was all about. Man, seriously, some of the absolute best memories of being here in Dallas have to do with those days at the TMS, Texas Motor Speedway, the super speedway. Because if you guys remember, you guys remember, we were the TMS station. That was Live 105.3. We had exclusive contract. We ran all the races on the weekends, you know, if you wanted to hear NASCAR races or whatever. So we had to deal with TMS, and every event they did out there, we were somehow involved. I know Sybil was employed out there by Eddie for a bunch of years. She became like a track girl. He was a good guy. God, that was fun. Those race weekends, you know, like the big week, like there were a couple big race weekends. Like I think there were 2 NASCAR races, and those were huge weekends. But then there was also the IndyCar weekends that were really big when he brought the Indy cars back. That was pretty cool. The Bombardier 500. Is that still being run out there? I don't know. That was cool. That is, I mean, for me, coming from the Midwest, coming from a big city like Chicago, and, you know, when you think of some of the cultural, unique things that the South has over the North, it is big time auto racing. It is big time NASCAR. I mean, we have NASCAR races in Chicago and they do well. You know, the Joliet Speedway does well. And they're like, oh, did you see how crazy? It ain't nothing like a NASCAR weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. I mean, that's like Super Bowl. The Super Bowl coming through town. The dog is acting weird. All right. Eddie Gossage, dead at 65 years old. He was a great guy. He was an awesome dude. Once again, I'd like to thank the executive producer of today's show. We all know her as Mama B. She is Sally. Help us out if you can. Drop a little something. Support this kind of talk radio, non-divisive, non-political, current events driven, hot takes and hot talk. That's what we do here every day, noon, Monday through Friday. Cash App, Venmo, whatever. We're going to leave them both up there. Biggest tipper of today's show is going to be the exec producer for Monday. So do not delay. Have no idea what the rest of the week is going to bring me, or the rest of the day. I've got a whole bunch of things I need to do. I just don't know which I'll do first. So on that, I'm going to sign off. Love you guys. Bye-bye.